Hello everyone. Sorry about that, there was a little technical bubble with my Wi-Fi dropping out literally 2 minutes before time to start the stream. Can everyone hear me alright? Can everyone hear me alright? It's right, I'm not Laser, and if you had seen any of the announcements you would know that it was not going to be Laser. Thank you, Adam. So, today, the stream title is not Maji just loaded the stream too early. He believed that the stream title is still developer stream upcoming Annihilation changes, which I made very sure it was not. Now I'm double checking because that's the way I roll. Alright, so today we're going to be tackling web development instead of the usual video game development. So, let's begin. You see I have PHP Storm open and my browser open, both very important. And we're going to go ahead and create a brand new project. Let's see here. In our workspace, we're going to create Shotbow v2. And this will be the basis of a brand new Shotbow website coming very, very far in the future. But also a support portal coming much sooner, but using the same framework. So we have to start somewhere. Clearly, Zenforo has not been working out to my pleasure. Maybe you'll see that in a different stream. So, let's begin. Creating our project, we're going to create a composer project. Really nice stuff here, similar to Gradle on the Java end. I love chat. I just love chat. We're going to create an advanced app. We're using Yi2's advanced application template. Yi is the framework we're going to be using. There are a number of templates for Yi frameworks. We have the basic one and the advanced one. Basic one has very little separation between an API layer and a front-end layer. Advanced separates those two layers so that we can have an API in addition to our web-facing side, which will help us develop Android apps and such in the future. We're going to go with the latest version. Use PHP. Okay. You can see it is now generating. Downloading Composer, which will then install our dependencies for us. Very nice. As Falling Dutchman has just noted, there is a bit of delay. My internet is not as good as lasers. As always, I am recording this, and we will put it up on the Shotbow Network's YouTube once we're done. I could have done this before the stream, but I decided not to. Probably should have, considering that I'm streaming and that is eating my upload, so the download's a little bit slower. Good old 15 down, 2 up. Web development, like many things, has an entry level of waiting if you're doing it the right way. But then it has the superb benefit of basically coding, refreshing, and immediately seeing what you were working on, which is probably the best bit of web development, is instant gratification, or instant depression if your code did not work the way you thought it was going to work. So, some more about the project. I am setting up the core, although I will mostly avoid it because it's not very interesting for today. Stuff like creating login, registration, sending out emails is not very interesting for us. So we'll skip over all that, use Yee's default hard-coded users, or code it to just allow anyone in temporarily. And we'll work immediately on setting up our database and the support portal, which will be a facet of this massive website that comes in the very far future. A couple weeks ago, you may have seen an announcement about our OAuth 2 login with Shotbow feature. This will be utilizing that in the future and then replacing it as it becomes the default login. You will not be hearing any sounds from my computer today, as I have decided to mute all sounds coming from my computer. They're not very relevant to this stream. And I don't have any royalty-free music, so you only get the sound of my sweet, sweet voice. I apologize for this being the boring part. It's currently installing the dependencies. Yee framework has a number of dependencies, most of them Yee, but also some stuff like PHP unit for test-driven development, which we will not be getting into today, and related dependencies. As we are waiting, the floor is of course open to questions in the chat. Falling Dutchman asks if Holo is best girl. The answer is, of course, yes. Holo is, in fact, best girl. I'm sorry that she got second place in the Best Girl competition, but that doesn't change the fact that she is Best Girl. Because I did not think about it, I'm also going to start up a virtual box, as I'm going to need a database. Virtual machine is, of course, a machine hosted on my machine. A computer in my computer. Dog. If you're not viewing this live, I can't really explain the jokes going on in chat, so I apologize for that. You missed out on all of this waiting. Majiko asks if you can host a virtual machine in a virtual machine, thus creating an inception machine, and as far as I'm aware, you cannot. Virtual machines generally run on a layer on your computer's processor made specifically for virtualization, or something like that. And of course, virtual machines do not have that layer. I could be completely wrong, as that is not my area of expertise. But either it will not work, or your entire computer will slow to a crawl. Something I feel the need to warn you about is that I am using a mechanical keyboard, and it will not be quiet. You will very much be able to hear my typing. In fact, most of this stream will probably be the sweet, sweet sound of tapping keys. For example, that is what it will sound like. And we're done waiting. Composer has installed all of the dependencies and set up an application framework for us. You can see here that a lot of the groundwork that I will need has already been done. We have the backend, which will be used for our API. We have common, which will contain a whole bunch of models that will be shared between the backend and the front end. We have console, which is for command line commands. Yeah. Environments, which is configuration settings. Front end, which is the user-facing bit of the website. That'll be what you see when you eventually type in shotbow.net / whatever we make it. Probably support. We have our tests directory, which is where we would store tests if we were making any. And we have vendor, which is where all of our dependencies end up. As you can see, there are a great many of them, and that is why it took so long. So the first thing we are going to do is we're going to go into front-end web. Actually, that is not the first thing we're going to do. I am sorely mistaken, and I apologize. We're going to open up our terminal here. And we're going to run the ye function, which does a little bit of setup for us. Okay. This is going well. Maybe what I am supposed to type is init. And it is. We will set up a development environment. We will initialize the application under the development environment, yes. And it's generated some more fun things for us. So here in web, we will now see our index.php file. And this will be the main entry file for all of the requests that hit our website. We're going to go ahead and open that up in the web browser. Don't even need a virtual machine for that. Do need to set up some things though. There we go. You'll notice it looks pretty terrible at first because it has just generated all of my asset files, because Yi is a framework that contains some pretty awesome asset management. We'll refresh now, and here we go, a Bootstrap theme. We will be keeping Bootstrap for the first iteration of the support portal, and we'll be eventually moving on to a more Polymer look, something I hope I can demo soon. Now that we've got this up and running, we are going to want to create a database. I do not believe that it comes with one in E2 Advanced. I know the earlier versions of E just initiated a SQLite database for you, and that was super easy, and I wouldn't have to do what I'm about to have to do. But I do have to do what I'm about to have to do. So we are going to open up SSH to my local machine. There we go. We are going to create a local database with a local username and a local password. So these won't be useful to you at all. We're going to create database Shotbow v2. I believe that worked, even though it did some weird things. Yes, it did. You can see it right there. We're going to grant all privileges to Shotbow v2, which is our user. No. On Shotbow v2 dot all tables to Shotbow v2, which will be our user, localhost, identified by Shotbow. Don't need a secure password, you can't access this. Privileges on Shotbow v2 to Shotbow v2 at all hosts identified by Shotbow. There we go. Now that we have a database set up, we're going to go ahead and put it in here. Database name, Shotbow v2, localhost, Shotbow v2, password, Shotbow. Connection is successful. Apply. We don't have any schemas or tables set up at the moment. And there we go. We have a database set up. Congratulations, us. It's boring, yet it isn't. My internet is run by pigeons. I apologize. I was a beta tester for Google's pigeon delivered internet service, TCP IP over carrier pigeon. That was a mistake. But let us digress. We're going to go ahead and create our table. Tables are fun. Tables are where all of our data is stored. This one is going to be tickets. Now, I'm not going to go incredibly in-depth into all of the features we need because I forgot to write them down before this stream. My apologies. But we're obviously going to need tickets. This support portal will handle general support requests, which previously were emailed to HighLife. It'll handle ban appeals, which previously were put on the forums. Terrible format. It will handle player reports, which were previously put on the forums. And it may eventually include bug reports. More on that as it develops, which is not now. So our tickets will of course need an identifier. Everything needs an identifier. Primary key, it's always going to be unique. We don't really need to specify that it is unique. We'll auto increment it. Okay. Title. We're going to make that text. Support intensifies! So says Laser. I have not been watching chat for the last couple seconds. Get IP. Did I display my IP address anywhere? I don't think so. Anywho. We'll do a title. We'll do, information. Make that a string too. I mean text. Make that a text. This will be good enough for now. We're gonna go ahead and cowboy this up. Create our table. We have a table. Fantastic. We're gonna open up our E2 debugger. It also generated some new assets, which I'm going to synchronize over here, and then reload the page so that it looks nice. You can see that we've been hitting the page. Yeah, try to hack that IP. Try. You can see that we've been hitting the page. Not much else to see here. You can see our asset bundles, which are what's generated on runtime, stored, and then given to the client. Very nice stuff. This whole E2 debugger is really awesome. So moving on from that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to try to start working on this website. Now I'm a little rusty because I haven't been able to work in this framework for a while. But we are going to want some models. And the first model we're going to create is ticket. Now ticket will be an active record. It will not implement identity interface like user does because tickets are not identities. Our ticket will extend from active record. Fun stuff. We need to specify the table name. You can see that I called it tickets. That was a mistake. I should have called it ticket. I prefer using singulars for my table names. A very weird thing that I do now. Matches the models up pretty well. You can see here that this model has some behaviors, some rules, some functions related to users. We're not going to do any of that. In fact, I think I might be done with ticket for now. I am going to specify the properties it has. This is all documentation stuff, so that my autocomplete can work on that easier. We are going to go into the front end and we're going to make our first controller. Support controller. Support controller extends controller from web. This one is the site controller. Controllers are responsible for reading the web request, assembling the models, getting all the information necessary, and then spitting it back out at you. Generally with a view. The views are of course what renders the entire web page. We might get more to that later. So you can see here, in the site controller at least, behaviors is a special little E framework thing, where you can define, I'll go ahead and say behaviors again. For example, this one is the access control, and it specifies what users are allowed to access what pages. This one is a verb filter, so HTTP has get, post, put, such like that. And this one specifies that you can only post to the logout page. so someone can't log you out just by sending you to the page. We have actions, and these are actions that are handled by other classes, so our error action and our CAPTCHA action. You can see our CAPTCHA action, I believe, on the contact page. This is handled by the CAPTCHA action. We inspect the element there. Take this over from my other monitor. You can see that the source is the site controller and the CAPTCHA action, and the view just a parameter. And then you can specify actions like this. So action index here renders our index page. This. It does that by rendering the index view, which you can find over here. And it's just like magic. So we're going to go ahead and throw up an index action. So we should be able to now go support index, and it should complain at us. It does. Precisely the way we want it to complain at us. The view does not exist. This view for support index doesn't exist. We're going to go into views. We're going to create our support directory for our controller. We're going to create our index.php, and we're going to put a header tag here and say Navarre is not bald. I go over here, refresh, and I made a mistake somewhere. That's fine. Probably need to return it. There we go. We've got our webpage up and running. That's all well and good. But we want to work with tickets. Now, to do this, we're going to have to create several actions. We're going to have to create an action for creating the ticket, for viewing the ticket, for listing the tickets. This is pretty in-depth and boring if we were to do that. So I'm going to jump around a bit to get through some of the exciting parts. And we're first going to go ahead and we're going to create a ticket. We're going to do this just by inserting it directly into the database. The title of this ticket is Bug, Navarre's not bald. The information is... Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's Navarre's not laser. I'm sorry, I made that one joke and now I can't leave it alone, laser. Please forgive me. It's not laser tester. And so his strings about not making games are rather boring and dull. We'll go ahead and click insert so that it saves that to the database, and it is now in the database. Great. So, the nice thing about active records is that you basically don't have to do anything to create them. Now, I know that doesn't make much sense, because I am bad with words. But just watch what I do here. We're going to take our ticket. Right. We have to import that class. We're going to do find I'm very used to E1, so I don't really remember all the things. I'm going to try just putting in the ID because that used to work. Ticket equals ticket find 1. Instead of returning our index there, we're going to go ahead and see whether or not this does anything by dumping out the ticket and killing the process. Does this do anything? I forgot to set up the configuration for the database. So now that we've found that out, we're going to go ahead and go into our environments, our development environment, our front end. Yes. Perhaps common. Yes, it is in common, as it should be. Localhost DB name is Shotbow v2. Username is Shotbow v2. Password is Shotbow. Save. Huh. That's fine. It is localhost. DB name is Shotbow v2. The username is Shotbow v2. The password is Shotbow. In fact, this is saying that I'm not using a password. So this configuration is not being loaded properly. That's fun. I'm going to go ahead and copy it into here just in case. Probably won't change a thing. But I want to make sure. And I can fix this to be the right way later. Go full column from ticket. It's still trying to open the DB with that information, so we're going to go ahead and do a find in path for ye2 advanced. We found a number of occurrences, mostly in the debug there, but there is one here in main local. Is that a different main local? Common config main local, common config. Environments dev common config main local, common config main local. So I will have to go in and figure out all these different configurations and get them merging properly, because it should the local should have overridden this other one. I'm not really sure why it didn't, but that is a bug for me to work on by myself, because it is going to be super boring. We go back here, go back to support index, refresh it, and we get our ticket. You can see that we have our title here that we put in, and our information here that we put in, and it is fantastic. And I did that only by calling find ticket by ID 1, and that's it. So when we render a view out like this, we can also specify variables. This is probably more tuned for an action view, but I can put that together later on in this stream. So we're going to render our index, and we're going to give it the variable ticket with the variable ticket. Yes, that is exactly right. Great. Now that means that we need to go back to our view over here, and we need to put in our ticket. So we're going to make the H1 now the ticket title, and we're going to give it a body. So I'm actually going to delete all that so I can show off some neat stuff. We know that we're going to have ticket, and it is going to be of type web model. Oh, common model. Common model ticket. No, it's not. Import class. Common models ticket. Now this queues to my IDE to know what the ticket variable is. So we go down here and we do 1. We got echo out, short echo out, ticket, title. And we're going to go out ticket information. I made a mistake in my ticket class that I will explain as soon as I get to it. No, it's property. No, I didn't make a mistake. Sometimes my IDE just doesn't work right. But that's fine. You can see that we're going to output our ticket title and our ticket information. You come over here, we refresh, and we should have the ticket title and ticket information, and it is fantastic. There's a lot of chat. Mostly about me being a wizard and doing magic. So that was incredibly easy. I'm going to show you something similar. We're going to create a ticket, though we're not going to accept user input just yet. So our ticket will be new ticket. We've already established how actions work, so I'm not going to go over all that again. We're going to set the ticket's title to Chat is Crazy, and we're going to set the ticket's information to Chat is really, really crazy. Why aren't you watching me live? And then we're going to save our ticket. Once we've done that, we should get back an ID, I believe. Returns whether the saving succeeds. So we won't get an ID back from this. But we can then do ticket ID to get the ID. And then we'll redirect to view with ID, I believe. Redirect to the URL status code. The URL can be an array. So that will be something like support view ID, the ID of the ticket we created. Great. So when I go to support create, it will create the ticket and should redirect us over to support view and ID equals 2, as it did. If we go into our ticket table, we will see that the second ticket was created. And that's pretty magical. Active records make creating objects and storing them in the database incredibly simple. And it is one of the reasons I love this framework so much, and one of the reasons I prefer this over Zen4.0. Because Zen4.0 is not as easy to develop for. So now, we tried to send our user over to the view, the view controller, the view action. My apologies. We need to create that view action. Public function, action view. We get an ID for this view. And what we want is to try to find the ticket for that ID. E will handle escaping this for us, so we don't have to bother with escaping this parameter. If we don't have a ticket, we will need to throw a 404 error, not found. So if no ticket, throw new not found HTTP exception. Ticket was not found. How about no such ticket exists? If we do have the ticket, we're going to render out that index view that we already created that shows the ticket information. Just like that. We come back over here. That wasn't too quick, was it? Because that was pretty quick. We come back over here, we refresh this URL, and we have our second ticket. We go over here, we switch the ID parameter to 1. We have our first ticket. This is why web development is awesome. Because in just seconds, I've already moved over and created all this functionality. So, we want to create tickets with user input now. That's a big one. We're going to go ahead and remove all of this, all of it, because we already have the stuff that we need. We already have the stuff we need in the user controller. I'm sorry, that is the model. The site controller. We have our... I'm going to move this structure tab over here, because it is much better over here, I think. Action sign up. We have a sign up form, which we're going to look at to create our support form, or ticket form. We're going to go into our models. We're going to create a new ticket form. Awesome. It will extend from... No, it won't. No, we're not doing it this way. Because our active record can also be our form. Because magic. Now, I previously said we weren't going to do any rules, and now we're going to go ahead and do those rules. So, public function rules, we're going to inherit the documentation for that. That means that when I control Q here, we get all this nice information about how our rules are supposed to look and work. For rules, let's see. Our ID is not safe, so it will not be specified in the rules. But we do have a title, and it is required. And that's a rule. And our title does not have to be unique like user's username does, but it does have to be a string. I'll go ahead and specify that it has to be a minimum of 3 characters, and let's not specify a max. Maybe later, if this turns into a problem, but we don't need a maximum now. We're also going to have our information, which is required. We're going to have our information be a string with a minimum of, let's say, 10 characters, just for fun. This is an array of arrays. Re-indent there, just like that. And fantastic. So, forms are just models. They're not very interesting, to be honest with you. We're going to go ahead and pull this out to the side for referencing, as we are going to need to reference it. I can't store all of this in my head. You really expect me to? You're crazy. You're crazy. So, something we didn't do for the other pages, and I'm not about to start now, is set titles and breadcrumbs. I can come back to that. It's not very fun. Instead, we're going to go ahead and create our ticket stuff. HTML encode escapes data that people would be trying to use to hack your account and my account and all of Shotbow. So it's very important that I include this HTML encode for any sort of user data, which is not what's going here. Following fields to create a ticket. So this is all bootstrap stuff. Probably going to come back and revise this later. That's a fun thing about iterations, is you can pretty much just do whatever and then come back and finish it up. Get something working out first. Maybe not publicly released, but get something working. Take that, reiterate on it, sort of reformat what's wrong, add some features that you left out, and you just keep doing this until you have a finished product. So So we're going to go ahead and create our form. Active form begin. ID will be form ticket create. We want some fields here. We're going to have a model that we're going to give it. We want our title field. We're going to have our information field. We do need to import active form because of PHP namespacing, which is a wonderful thing that only started existing a few years ago. This is a Bootstrap active form. Thank you for putting it there, PHP Storm. That is exactly where I wanted it to go. Not in this thing that I created specifically for that. Wow, that is some terrible... Oh, that's why that's formatting that way. So we're going to make this a text area. Some nice nifty functions, ties things together pretty well. Give class form group, HTML submit, oops, HTML, include the helper, submit button, create ticket, some Bootstrap stuff, button primary, makes it the primary color. I don't really need a name. And then when I'm finished with the form, we end it. Great. That wasn't difficult. So we're going to take our site controller over here. We're going to look at sign up. You can see we create a model, which will be a blank ticket, essentially. We try to load it with the post data, if the post data exists. If we fail, if we do that successfully, then we do other stuff. If we don't, we render sign up with that. Well, in this case, we render sign up with that. We're going to go over here. We're going to create our model, and it is going to be a new ticket. If we can load the ticket with the post data, then if we can load the ticket with the post data and save the ticket, then we are going to redirect the user over to the view page, like we did before. This render, not this render, this redirect, support view ID model ID. Fantastic. Else this render, oops, return this render create model. Going to create here, we're going to go ahead and specify that our model is common models ticket. Great. That all looks great. We're going to go back into our index page. Actually, I'm going to leave that alone. You'll notice I'm not HTML encoding it, which I'll get to very shortly. So if we go over, we try to create our ticket. We should get a form. I don't get a form. That's fine. Front-end controller Z not found. Forgot to import Y. You can see that it's glowing yellow there because of it. And we get our form. Oh no, another link taken from chat. Information, a test, laziness, plus 20. Create ticket. We did not send the ID. Now why would that be? It probably didn't create the ticket right. Let's open up our ticket table here. It created a ticket. It didn't create it right though. Huh. Now why would that be? Those attributes are safe because they've been defined with rules. They can be set. What am I missing? Let's take a look at our create pages again. We have our CSRF token, very nice. We have ticket title, ticket information, create ticket, all very well, all very good. Our model is loading, and our model is even saving, so something has to be going wrong with the load. So we're going to go ahead and die after dumping out what we get back from post, though it should be all the things specified here. And it is ticket array title information. Going to var dump the model that we just saved and die here before we redirect. Title, information. You know what? I know exactly what's going wrong. Because I redefined them that moment ago, they're not being set in the right data array, and so they're not actually being sent. So I remove all that. Come on back here. Create a ticket. Should work perfectly this time. And it does. Fantastic. We have our ticket. It has worked absolutely perfectly. And now we're going to show why it's very important to HTML encode things. We go back to our create action. Let's do something crazy. Marquee. This is a ticket. Now, why would HTML work? Why in the world would HTML work? It shouldn't, right? Right? HTML shouldn't work. But it does. And it is terrible. This shouldn't happen. If this happens, users can do all sorts of crazy things with injected JavaScript from the website that the user's browser implicitly trusts. They can delete your mail, they probably can't change your password because it will require you to insert your current password and they won't know that. But all sorts of terrible, terrible things. This is bad. But how do we fix this? Easy. That little tiny HTML encode. We're going to go ahead and move this into an import, as I do not want that there all the time. Now watch this. Bam! HTML doesn't work anymore. Awesome. I can't drop all the databases at him, as he has told me to in chat, because I'm using the active records. And the active records already escape all the data. Nobody's making any raw SQL queries here, and so there's no reason to escape SQL, and no databases will ever be dropped. So take that. Now we have creating a ticket, we have viewing a ticket. We're going to go ahead and change our index over to listing our tickets. Now we're going to do this by moving this ticket equals ticket find one to tickets equal ticket find all. Now you'll normally want find all. That's sort of find all. Now you'll normally want to paginate this. We're not going to bother right now. It's not really important at the moment. It will be later, but it's not right now. So we're just going to grab all of our tickets. We're going to throw them into the index, which we're going to rename to view right now, because that is what that file is. That is a view file. We do not want to rename it there. And I'm pretty sure we don't want to rename it in any of those places. We just want to rename it there. Okay. So view renders the view, index renders the index. Go ahead and create our index. List of tickets. For each tickets as ticket. Right now we're just going to output the ticket title. There's that good old encode that you guys now know about. And this should list all the tickets on the support index. It does not, because I did something wrong again. And that's fine. That happens a lot. Let's see. Render index. Did I forget a closing tag here? I did. I forgot to end my for each loop. Very fast REPL. I can just do whatever I want, refresh, and everything's there. Fantastic. We have our list of tickets. This is incredibly unuseful because these need to be links. I can't get to any of these tickets from here. So we're going to go ahead and create some links. We use our HTML helper. Let's get rid of that for now. We're going to go ahead and use our HTML helper. The text will be the ticket title, and I'm pretty sure this escapes it by default. Could be wrong. I will find out very shortly. And then we need to specify the URL. Now I believe we can do this the same way we do with the redirect, so I don't have to specify the actual URL. I can just do support view ID ticket ID. Gonna echo that out. This is a helper for an A tag. I generally stay away from the HTML helpers, but right now it makes more sense than hard coding in an A tag and then echoing the content inside of it. A lot more sense. So we're gonna refresh this, and it should give us our tickets as links. You can see that it does not, in fact, escape. We're going to go ahead and put in our HTML encode, the ticket title. Does it say it doesn't escape? It will not be HTML encoded. Okay, that way you can put in image tags and other useful things like that. That's important to know. Import the class so that I'm going to go ahead and put that somewhere where it'll look much nicer than right there. Import our class, specify that common models, that our tickets array is an array of tickets. And this will fix up all of those problems. There we go. Go to marquee, you get that ticket. Perfect. Absolutely wonderful. So we've created a list of tickets, the ability to create tickets, and the ability to view tickets. And these are very simple tickets. They'll need to be much more complicated before release. But we have something, right? We have something. And that is the first hour. This is why I don't have time to do anything. It just took an hour, and we're not even a percentage of the way through this system. That's also why I get paid a lot of money. Though, I guess it's a lot to kids. It's not a lot to adults. I'm sorry. It can be if you get really good and spend a lot of years in the industry. Or it can be if you're just a Java developer, like Laser. Java developers make a lot more money than PHP developers. But don't just write it off. You can hear that I have a cat, I'm sure. He's very noisy and very fussy. And he loves you all. Are you done? Okay. So, what would you say we're missing? I would say that we're missing a link to create a ticket. We can list our tickets and we can view them from the list, but we don't really have a way to create them. So all we're going to do for that is we're going to go ahead and create a small little button. We'll do it with an HTML tag. Create ticket. Support create is our link. And we look up our documentation here with Control Q. Options will be rendered as attributes in the tag. So we're going to go ahead and specify a class of button and button primary to make this look like a button, even though it is just a link. We come back to our page, we refresh it, and we have nothing because I'm still viewing a ticket. We go back to our ticket list, and we have our create ticket button here. Pulls us to here, where we can create a ticket. This is a ticket. It's very cool. We create our ticket. We get sent to the ticket view. And now, we're missing just one last piece to this round puzzle. And that would be a way to get back to the list. Because once you're here, where are you going to go? Nowhere. There is literally nowhere to get back to the ticket list. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and implement those breadcrumbs. And I don't ever really remember how to do this, so I'm going to just look it up in the other files that were included. Because lazy. There's no reason to look it up in the documentation except to show you how awesome the documentation is. Tickets. Actually, I'm going to have to do that anyway because I'm missing the links for the breadcrumbs. And ticket title. We should see breadcrumbs up here. Home, tickets. This is a ticket. Now, I'm going to show you how cool the documentation is. So we're going to go ahead and go to yeframework.com. I'm obviously using Ye for all of this. And Ye has really amazing documentation. Guide, API 2.0? Yeah. We're going to look up breadcrumb in their little search bar here. We get our breadcrumb widget, and this tells us everything we need to know about breadcrumbs. Now these are probably sent through just as the links array. So Brem's breadcrumbs is the array that ends up right here. And we can verify this by going over to our layouts. And this is what contains most of the page. We just haven't bothered to look at it at all. We see our navigation here, and we see our breadcrumbs here. Links is set params breadcrumbs, then use our breadcrumbs parameters. So now that we've verified that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to learn some things. You can see that we can specify a label, a URL, and a template for it if we want to. We don't want to specify a template for it. But that's an interesting feature to have. I didn't know it existed. So we're going to go over here. Our label is tickets. Our URL can be in that nice nifty array format. So support index, and voila. Come back over here, I refresh, and this ticket should turn into a link. It does. And that link should go right back to the ticket list. And it does. Fantastic. I have no idea what's going on in chat. Something about pull requests for tabby chat. I'm not even sure they're paying any attention to me anymore. But there you go. List of tickets, ability to create a ticket, ability to view the ticket you just created. There's that limitation kicking in. And an ability to get back to that list of tickets. I think that because this has already run an hour, that is where I'm going to stop for today. I would like to assemble some notes and get a better structure going on so that we can get into the real nitty-gritty of what needs to be done. But you've now gotten a taste for what it is like to program in Yi. So there you have it. I will now open the chat to questions, if they would like. I don't think they'll have any, but I could be completely wrong. Chat, do you have any questions? Does not look like chat has any questions for me today. The cat's name is Tiger. Kittens ABC asks what the cat's name is, and the cat's name is Tiger. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all for watching. I will probably be back again for another developer stream at some point in the nearish future. My internet does pose some limitations to that, but we'll see. I hope to have this rolled out in several months. But it'll be so much better than everything we've been using. It all depends on where the priorities lie. So, I could tell you about those, but then I would have to kill you for possessing secret Shotbow network knowledge. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again.